Alright, so I'll be going over some of this stuff, and hopefully it'll help you out a little bit. So I'll just start the footage. Alright, so first thing I'll notice is that you could definitely have put the I all the way to the right instead, and that way you can fill in the 3x4 area at the left with a J, L, and an O, which you would have been getting soon anyway. Either that or place the pentagon that you put in the middle to the side somehow, because if you do things this way you actually have a lower probability of being able to execute the PC, so it's something to keep in mind. The burning at the side seems pretty good. Okay, yeah, that's the right placement for the O. Okay, there I would have placed the L instead of the J, and that would have left you extra room to do other things with it, I think. I'm not quite sure about the placement of the Z there, because you're actually blocking the hole even more by doing that. Yeah, there I would have yeah, there you go. The Z placement was pretty questionable, but that's probably a misdrop, so. I might have changed that stack a little bit. I'll actually rewind that. Okay. So, yeah, here I'd actually placed the L piece all the way to the right, and then once you would have done that, you could have cleared out the rest with the Z and the T, and then using the S piece as well. By doing what you do instead, you actually block off the hole even more. So that's definitely a decision that you need to be thinking about. Okay, stacking looks clean so far. Good burn. Yeah, there I would have, I'm not sure if this was intentional or not, but there I would have put the O1 block to the O1 block to the left instead, so that you would have had room to place the L piece. Yeah, there I would have actually placed the Z further to the right or something else so that you don't block the hole more. That's one of those situations where you might have been able to go for a T-spin with the with all the blocks that were coming up, if you look here, you have the S piece up here, and you could have placed that in the area that you just made, and then you probably could have used the L piece somewhere else, and then using the blue J, you could have created something that would have gotten you a T-spin instead. This is essentially an I dependency unless you're going for a combo. Yeah, I definitely would have upstacked a little bit more. I don't think there was really any reason to have to let go of what you had right there. I mean, at this point you're just jeopardizing your stack from that, so I wouldn't have done that. Okay. Yeah, I definitely have dedicated one of those S pieces to the third, fourth, and fifth columns, because that would have been a T-spin setup after you place the O on the right. I can understand not going for the T-spin there because the T was a little bit far off, so I'm not going to say anything about that one. Yeah, here I definitely would have gone for placing the L piece all the way to the right, because that would have gotten you a T-spin setup, and possibly, if you really wanted to, you could have gone for a fractal after that, but I think most importantly, just when you see something like that, think about using an L or J piece to go for a T-spin. I mean, that's probably a misdrop, but still, I would have put the O all the way to the right. Yeah, and in this case, actually, there was still a way out. If you look here, instead of doing that tuck, which actually covered the whole more, you could have just placed that piece all the way to the right, and then just did a basic spin with the J piece, and that would have covered things up a lot easier. In the case that your opponent's a lot faster than you, I'd probably recommend going for, and I'd probably use a flatter opener. Like, I mean, you might not know this yet, but TKI is definitely a good choice against someone who's a lot faster than you. At least that way you keep your board like a lot shorter, and you don't have to spend time downstacking what you already made. Oh yeah, in that kind of situation, you have to use it counterclockwise, or it just won't go over to the side. Stacking seems pretty solid though, so I'll give you that. Okay, well, in this kind of situation, after you place that first Z, and you place this one, you should probably place the L all the way to the right, because it would have just burned that piece and not created any more dependencies. By stacking over it, you're simply making it harder to access that. Yeah, and that one small decision is really costly. So typical 9-0 stack, okay. Yeah, I wouldn't have done that. When you have like an L or J dependency there, definitely dedicate one of those to filling that in. By basically wasting both on the side, you're forced to use the I piece early. So I definitely would be using L or J pieces on those. Yeah, in this kind of situation, after the Tetris here, since you actually already have this working out, you can burn one line above and the line on the bottom by placing the L piece all the way to the right. Like, in kind of, think about like the upper right corner or something. Just put it in that kind of orientation, and it'll actually clear that and open up the well for the eyepiece. And stacking over the hole is definitely not the best decision either. I wouldn't have done that. Yeah, it can be a little bit hard to think ahead, but if you see in this kind of situation, you don't have to use the eyepiece. If you just place the J, that instead of holding it, you could have placed it above the O and kind of making an overhang there. And that way, after you clear off these two lines that you don't want, you can already go for a T-spin right after that. So if you can kind of use some foresight to look at that and kind of see those delayed T-spins, that'll definitely help you out. Yeah, that was good judgment. I mean, I wouldn't really go... I mean, I'd only do that if I wanted to go for an STSD at the top there, and it really isn't a good idea considering the state of your board. So instead what I would have done is just using the S piece to create an overhang for a T-spin there. I think you probably could have done this with a little bit less, just clearing singles, I think. But it's not that bad. I wouldn't fret about it. So again, you go for the PCO. Okay. Okay, so in this situation that you know is a fact that you can't PCO, I'd say if you're going to have like T-shaped residue over here, I would recommend having it not at the very side, and I'd put it closer to the middle. So instead of dedicating the L piece to doing a spin, you should just place the O, and then place the L piece without rotating it all the way to the right. And that means that you can actually place the overhang for the T-spin in either direction, which is definitely just an overall cleaner board state for you. Yeah, I try to refrain from doing from ever really placing the J piece all the way to the left like that, because again, you're making a dependency that you can only fill with a J or I piece. You probably could have made it a lot more clean just by placing it in the middle. Overall, though, it doesn't end that badly. Good job putting on the pressure as you know that your opponent's about to die. Good PC. I wouldn't say it's a priority, but if you noticed earlier how you had that 3-wide well over here, if you can learn to like do STSDs and stuff like that, it'll give you a much better continuation when you'd otherwise just be clearing singles or doubles. And yeah, you won. Considering that you seem to like doing perfect clear openers whenever you can, in this kind of situation, I would have placed the Z piece one column from the right, and then creating like kind of an open square, like the bottom of an open square with the L and J pieces, because that way you still could have gone for a PCO if you really wanted to, assuming you got the RNG. Yeah, this is a pretty unhealthy board state, but you could T-spin off that. Yeah, good burn to get the good burn for the Tetris. That was smart. Seems like a very similar bag that you could have PCO'd if you wanted to. Yeah, again, the kind of J placement all the way to the left, I wouldn't really recommend it. That was a good burn. Okay, yeah, that's definitely not a placement I would do. You're creating a really bad eye dependency there when you could have placed it flat right above the S piece. Doing it like that, you're basically making it even harder to downstack because you're already above some cheese, and having two wells on the left and right, it's not really good for your board. Yeah, and having to dedicate the eyepiece to the side really doesn't help you out much. Okay, this is arguably a little bit advanced, but in this kind of situation, what you could have done is actually place the S piece right up against the wall that you created at the middle there, and then did a 180 spin for the L piece to get it in there, and that way you wouldn't have had to have an eye dependency, and you could have placed the J all the way to the left. This is another one of those situations where you're basically making your board unnecessarily unhealthy. So you'll see here with the J piece, instead of just tucking it in, I would have done a counterclockwise rotation there, and that would have burned a line and would have left a little bit of residue that you could have cleaned with the C piece that you were about to get right after. So yeah, there are definitely a couple circumstances in which you could have cleaned that. And for that stacking decision right there, yeah, I definitely have placed the eye all the way to the right because it's still going to be a while before you get down there. That way, instead of having to wait for a piece to put all the way into the right, you just had the I piece to the right and just put the J piece in the JL dependency, and you would have been much better off. Luckily, your opponent's board isn't in a very good shape either, so you're mostly okay. Yeah, I definitely would have perfect clear opened this bag. You can clearly see that you have all of the basically have all the necessary components for it. You have the early I, like you basically have no S or Z pieces coming early, so you can almost guarantee that you can get a perfect clear off of this. I'm not so sure about that placement, but overall it's not that bad. Yeah, that's a good burn. That's a good burn. I would have placed the S all the way to the left. I know it would have covered up your hole a little bit more, but at least it would have given you the freedom to just Tetris immediately with the J piece that you got right after. Yeah, again, in that kind of situation with like the 3 wide column, with like the 3 wide empty column at the right, that's something that you could learn to super T-spin double if you wanted to. Yeah, this is probably a misdrop, but still having the S piece, so like 1 column from the left, would have been much healthier for your stack. Yeah, anyway, I'm definitely gonna say that